So hi, my name is Marco Reniel Poblete. So Antonio Pigafetta was a Venetian scholar, and he also joined Ferdinand Magellan, and he is a survivor in the expedition in the Philippines. The book written by Pigafetta was called The First Voyage Around the World. It's become the basis of the primary source of the history of the voyage of Magellan. Pigafetta was born in the closing year in 15th century. His parents are Giovanni Pigafetta and Angelika. He is the eldest child among his siblings. He also studied astronomy, geography, and cartography. He joined Ferdinand Magellan together with Juan Sebastian Elcano in the previous expedition to the Moluccas, which began in August 15 and ended up in September 15, 2022. The First Voyage Around the World by Antonio Pigafetta. So this book was written on board on the 5 ship which circumnavigate during the expedition led by Ferdinand Magellan. The expedition was started in 1519 and ended up in Spain in 1522. So Ferdinand Magellan is a Portuguese explorer who moved in Spain after denying the request to be able to explore. He brought an idea to the king and queen of Spain of his intention to use the route westward going to eastward. Some of them thought this was a crazy idea. However, Ferdinand Magellan proved that this idea is right. A treaty in place between Portugal and Spain that would divide the world as to where Portugal and Spain placed for exploration. It was called the Treaty of Tordesillas. It was signed at Tordesillas in Spain on June 7, 1494 and authenticated at Setúbal, Portugal. Divided the newly discovered land outside the Europe between the Portuguese Empire and the Spanish Empire along the meridian 370 language west of the Cape Verde island of the west coast of Africa. So the report will continue by John Lester Dimatatac.
Hello, I am John Lester Dimatatac. So the question was, what's Magellan's reason why he wanted to go to east using the west road? So let's talk about the Spice Islands or Moluccas. In the year 1521, the expedition later has reached the Spice Islands, and one of the surviving ships eventually returned home via the Indian Ocean, completing the first circuit of the globe. Magellan had already reached the Malay Archipelago in Southeast Asia. On previous voyages, traveling east from the year 1505 to 1511 or to 1512. In the 16th century, the Moluccas were nicknamed the Spice Islands. This was due to the large number of aromatic plants that grew on this archipelago. Subsequently, the islands were an important strategic base for the highly profitable spice trade. Back in the year 1519, September 20, Magellan set sail from Spain in an effort to find the Western Sea Route to the rich Spice Islands of Indonesia, in command of 5 ships and 270 men. Magellan sailed to the West Africa and then to Brazil, where he searched the South American coast for a strait that would take him to the Pacific. He searched the Rio de la Plata, a large estuary south of Brazil, for a way through. Though failing, he continued south along the coast of Patagonia. On his 3rd day at midnight, the Spanish captains mutinied against their Portuguese captain, but Magellan crushed the revolt, executing one of the captains and leaving another ashore when his ship left St. Julian in August. And on the same year, on October 21, he finally discovered the strait he had been seeking. The Strait of Magellan, as it became known, is located near the tip of South America, separating Tierra del Fuego and the continental mainland. Only 3 ships entered the passage. One had been wrecked and another deserted. It took 38 days to navigate the Tertiary Strait. And when the ocean was sighted, at the other end Magellan wept with joy. He was the first European explorer to reach the Pacific Ocean. From the Atlantic, his fleet accomplished the westward crossing of the ocean in 99 days, crossing waters so strangely calm that the ocean was named Pacific, from the Latin word pacificus, meaning tranquil. By the end, the men were out of food and chewed the leather parts of their gear to keep themselves alive.
On March 6, 1521, the expedition landed at the island of Guam. It was the first contact Europeans had with the islands and an important stop during the expedition that had begun in Spain in 1519. The traditional story has it that Magellan landed at the pristine Dimatatac Bay, but this is a subject of much scholarly debate based on the route the ships and reported taking to that point. Dimatatac Bay was, however, the site of many subsequent visits from European explorers, and today the nearby village hosts an annual Discovery Day festival which celebrates native Camara culture. On March 16, 1521, when Magellan landed on Cebu. When he and his crews landed on Cebu Island, a native chief, Humabon, met and befriended him. Humabon, his wife, and hundreds of his native warriors agreed to accept Christianity and were consequently baptized. Magellan planted a cross to signify this important event about the propagation of the Roman Catholic faith in what is now Cebu in central Philippines. The original cross is repeatedly encased in another wooden cross for protection, as people started chipping it away and believed that it was miraculous healing powers. This prompted the government official to encase it in tindala wood and secured it inside a small chapel called kiosk. Some say, however, that the original cross was actually destroyed. The Magellan cross displayed here is said to be a replica of such cross. It is housed in a small chapel located in front of the present City Hall of Cebu, along Magallanes Street, named in honor of Magellan. Magellan's religious fervor was so strong that he threatened to kill those chieftains that resisted converting to Christianity, and this harsh decree ultimately proved to be his downfall. When a king named Lapu-Lapu refused to convert, Magellan's men burned his village on the island of Mactan. When they saw their houses burning, they were roused to a greater fury. In subsequent fighting on April 27, Magellan was hit by a poisoned arrow and left to die by his retreating comrade. After Magellan's death, the survivors in 2 ships sailed on to Moluccas and loaded the hulls with spice. One ship, the Trinidad, attempted but unsuccessfully to return across the Pacific because they were cuffed by the Portuguese. The other ship, the Victoria, continued west under the command by Basque navigator Juan Sebastian de Elcan. The vessel sailed across the Indian Ocean, rounded the Cape of Good Hope, and arrived at the Spanish port of San Pilar de Barrameda on September 6, 1522, becoming the first ship to circumnavigate the globe. 18 survivors left in the ship of Victoria, and there is a total of 35 that was able to return to Spain after they were being released from being captured and imprisoned. So, dun sa first, meron silang 5 ships, pero after Magellan's death, they were only have 2 ships. It was Trinidad and Victoria. Trinidad was attempted to go back to Spain, but they were unsuccessfully to return that because they were cut by the Portuguese, and only the Victoria was successfully returned to Spain. And on that ship, the Victoria, there are 18 survivors there, and on that Trinidad, they are increasing. Pero yung total ng survivors is 35 because of the survivors in Trinidad was already released or captured by